In the summer of 1991, things seemed to be going perfectly for 62-year-old Gord and 59-year-old Jackie McAllister. After 39 years of marriage, the couple from Lindsay, Ontario was finally enjoying their long-anticipated retirement and had recently bought an RV to travel to Winnipeg for an extended stay with Jackie's family. However, they had no idea that their vacation would soon spiral into a nightmare, with their brand new motorhome becoming the site of a horrifying and brutal crime. On June 27th, Gord and Jackie began their journey, heading north until they reached Highway 17, which would take them west toward Manitoba. After about 6 hours of driving, they had made good progress, but as it was getting late, they decided to stop for the night. They pulled into a rest area near Blind River, Ontario, situated roughly halfway between Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie. The location was quiet and remote, surrounded by evergreen trees that obscured the highway from view. With that, the McAllisters settled in for the night. Just before 1 a.m., Gord and Jackie were abruptly woken by the sound of someone pounding on the door of their RV. A man outside identified himself as a police officer and said they needed to move their vehicle. However, when the McAllisters opened the door, they were shocked by what they saw. Instead of a police officer, they encountered a man in his 30s, about 6 feet tall, with stringy blonde hair. The man was holding a .22 caliber rifle and informed Jackie and Gord that he was there to rob them. Fearful, the McAllisters complied and handed over their valuables without resistance. However, once they did, it became clear that the stranger had no intention of letting them go. He shot Jackie first, killing her instantly with a close-range wound. As Gord attempted to flee, he was shot twice, once in the back and once in the foot. Despite his injuries, he managed to hide beneath the RV, evading detection by the killer. At roughly the same time, 29-year-old Brian Major from Elliott Lake made the unfortunate choice to pull into the rest stop. He unknowingly drove into the murder scene and encountered the killer. Not realizing the danger he was in, Brian got out of his car to offer assistance, but before he could comprehend what was happening, it was too late. As he tried to escape, the killer shot him through his car's windshield. Afterward, the attacker fled the scene. Despite his injuries, Gord managed to reach the highway and flag down passing motorists for help. Unfortunately, by the time emergency responders arrived, both Jackie and Brian were already dead. Authorities immediately began searching for the killer. Within an hour of the shootings, the crime scene was thoroughly examined, and by dawn, 30 kilometers of highway ditches were scoured for evidence while a helicopter conducted an aerial search and divers explored nearby rivers. Although the police had very little information to work with aside from the description of the killer, they also had an idea of the type of vehicle he might be driving. Gord had reported seeing the man flee in what he thought was a blue van, and a passing motorist also described seeing a similar vehicle speeding out of the rest stop and heading towards Sudbury. The details of the blue van were quickly refined, and the police informed the public that they were looking for a full-size mid-1980s Chevrolet van with white full-size mirrors and white mud flaps. A nationwide alert was issued for the suspect and his vehicle. Unfortunately, the police were unable to track down the elusive perpetrator. As the weeks went by, attention briefly shifted to another violent crime in which an elderly store owner was stabbed while confronting a thief who had threatened his wife during a robbery in Long Lac. Although this incident was hundreds of kilometers northwest of Blind River, the two crimes were initially reported together for a brief period until police confirmed they didn't believe the cases were linked. An American tourist from Maryland was soon arrested and charged in the Long Lac case. After that, coverage of the murders of Jackie McAllister and Brian Major started to dwindle, with only sporadic updates being reported. In February 1992, a computer-generated composite of the suspect in the Blind River murders was made public, based on the description provided by Gord McAllister. There was hope that this unsettling image might lead to a breakthrough in identifying the killer. However, as the 1-year anniversary of the crime passed, it became evident that the police had made no progress in solving the case. A touching news story published just before the anniversary revealed that Gord had returned to work after his retirement had left him feeling lonely, and that Brian Major's wife, Joanne, was struggling to raise their young son on their own. In a report released around the same time, an investigator mentioned that they were sorting through a list of 36,000 blue vans registered across the country, along with over 1,000 tips they had received about possible suspects. The investigator acknowledged that catching the perpetrator might require a stroke of luck. In March 1993, the case was featured on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, hoping to spark new leads. While many calls came in, unfortunately none led to any significant new discoveries. After that, the case went cold. In 1999, attention turned back to the Blind River killings after 52-year-old former Toronto police officer Ronald West was charged with the murders of 2 women. The victims were 34-year-old Doreen Morby and 38-year-old Helen Ferguson, nurses who were killed just 2 weeks apart in 1970 after opening their doors to a stranger. DNA evidence had connected West to the crimes, but authorities believe he may have been linked to other offenses as well. In 1999, West was already serving an 8-year sentence for a series of robberies he had committed in the Sault Ste. Marie area in 1995. However, police believed there was circumstantial evidence linking him to the 1991 Blind River case. For one, West lived in Blind River with his wife and 2 children at the time of the murders, making it a short drive from his home to the rest stop. As a former police officer, it also seemed plausible that he would have used his experience to deceive the McAllisters into opening the door of their RV. West was never charged in connection with the Blind River case. It's possible that Gord McAllister was shown a photo and didn't recognize him as the killer, and the police never made that information public. Regardless, West was later convicted of the murders of Doreen Morby and Helen Ferguson and received 2 life sentences. So if he is responsible for the chilling Blind River killings, at least he remains in prison to this day. Sadly, Gord McAllister passed away in 2012 without ever learning who was responsible for the murder of his wife. Hopefully one day both the McAllisters and the Majors will receive the closure they deserve when this case is finally solved.